Hi everyone, this is Bhavya Sharma here. I hope all of you are safe and doing great. So today we are going to go through the clavicle bone anatomy. So let's get started. So we are going to go through the bone and we will see the features in the real human bone, as well as we will also go through the notes so it is more clearer, and then I'll be uploading the notes in my Insta page as well. Okay, so in this video we are going to talk about the introduction of the bone, that is what is the clavicle bone, the importance of the bone, then the features of the bone, the parts of the bone, and the site determination. And in the next part of this series of video, we will be talking about the attachments of the muscles in this bone and the clinical anatomy. So okay, let's get into the video now. This is the clavicle. This is how the clavicle looks. See, okay, you have to know how the bones look because sometimes we may even get confused. For example, sometimes many of us get confused in the humerus and the femur bone. However, they have lots of differences. So this is how the clavicle bone looks. The first thing that you need to know about it is also known as your collarbone or your beauty bone. Okay, now if we go through the notes, see, I have made a diagram here. In this, it has been shown that it has two ends. Okay, the shaft is divided into two parts, lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. Okay, if you see in the bone, see, this is your lateral 1/3 of the shaft and this is the medial 2/3 of the shaft. And the other thing that we can see here is the two ends. That is this one, the round quadrangular and large head, that is your medial head, which is also known as sternal head, and this one, the lateral side or the flattened end, which is known as your acromial end or the lateral end. Okay, now clavicle is a long bone. Okay, it has three parts: medial end, shaft, and lateral end. Let me show you. See, clavicle is a long bone and it has three parts. This is the medial end, that is quadrangular in shape, the shaft, and the lateral end. We'll go through the importance of the clavicle. It has two importance, that is it supports the shoulder. Now the question arises is, how does it supports the shoulder? See, what does it do is, this is the lateral end, which is also known as the acromion end. This acromion end or the lateral end gets articulated with the acromion process of scapula and forms the acromioclavicular joint, which is a part of shoulder joint. Okay, don't worry about the acromion process. When we will go through the osteology of scapular bone, we'll be very clear about acromion process. Okay, so I'll repeat again. This lateral end, this end gets articulated with the acromion process of the scapula and it forms the acromioclavicular joint that supports the shoulder. And the other thing is, it transmits the weight of the limb to the sternum. I'll explain it how afterwards. Okay, then the joints formed by the clavicle are two. First one is your sternoclavicular, that is, see, I told you the medial side is the sternal side. Why? Because this medial side gets articulated with the manubrium sterni and forms the sternoclavicular joint. And this side, the second joint is formed, that is why I already told you, the acromioclavicular joint. Okay, this is one of the very important topic, because mostly in the viva, the external or your internal invigilator will just ask you, if you have clavicle for your practical, they'll just ask you, okay, tell me two peculiarities of clavicle. So let's go through it. Okay, they are 7 totally. You can remember 2 or 3 and you can easily tell them when you go for your viva. It is the only long bone that lies horizontally. See, what does it mean is, see, it is a long bone, I already told you, right? It is lying horizontally. This is how it is lying in our body. But the other bones, the other long bones like femur, humerus, your ulna, radius, all these, they are lying vertically. So this is the only bone that lies horizontally. Okay, then it is subcutaneous throughout. Subcutaneous means you can feel it through your skin. See, right now, just touch your collarbone. Can you feel it? That is what means subcutaneous. You can feel it through your skin. Then comes the third one, It is the first bone that starts ossifying. Ossification means the formation of the bone. The beginning of formation of the bone is known as ossification. So it is the first bone in our human body to start ossifying. The fourth point is it has two primary centers of ossification. See, usually there is only one primary center of ossification, but in case of clavicle, there are two primary centers of ossification. That means center of ossification means the center at which the ossification will begin. Okay, and then it is the only long bone that ossifies in membrane. Okay, what does it means is this is the only long bone which ossifies in the connective tissue directly without getting transformed from cartilage to bone. Okay, it is not cartilaginous, it directly ossifies in the connective tissue. Okay, then it has no medullary cavity. Medullary cavity is also known as marrow cavity. Okay, what does it means is every bone has a cavity in which the yellow bone marrow and the red bone marrow is being stored. So this clavicle has no medullary cavity. Another last one is it is occasionally pierced by middle supraclavicular nerve. Okay, there is a nerve, that is your middle supraclavicular nerve, which occasionally means sometimes, pierces your clavicle bone. Okay, now I told you that the weight is being transmitted, right? The upper limb weight is being transmitted to the body through the clavicle, right? So how is it? I'll explain that to you now. See, what happens is, I told you clavicle has a lateral end where it is forming the acromioclavicular joint, and medially it is forming the sternoclavicular joint. So what happens is, through this lateral 1/3, it takes up the weight of the upper limb and it transmits it to the axial skeleton through the medial side. Okay, it takes up the upper limb's weight and it transmits the weight to the axial skeleton through the medial 2/3 through your sternoclavicular joint. That is what it is written. Clavicle receives weight of upper limb via lateral 1/3 and transmits the weight to the axial skeleton via medial 2/3. We will go through one of the very, very important parts of the practical process, that is your side determination. See, what happens is this clavicle is a paired bone. Okay, so they are two in number, that is right side and left side. What will happen is, in your practical, in the table in front of the invigilator, all the bones will be decoratedly kept. Okay, and the invigilator will be sitting in front of you and they'll be like, pick up the clavicle bone. Okay, they won't point out that pick up the clavicle bone. They'll be like, pick up the clavicle bone. Then what you have to do is, you have to pick up the clavicle bone, you have to scan the bone, you have to go through the bone and you have to find the side determination of the bone, and then you have to tell them that, ma'am, this is the right side of the clavicle or this is the left side of the clavicle, whatever side you determine. Okay, you have to do it within 30 seconds. They expect that from you, and that gives a good impression to them that you're very thorough about the bone. Okay. So majorly there are three features by which you can find out the side determination of your clavicle. Okay, we'll go through the notes and then we'll see the bone as well. See, the lateral end is going to be flat and the medial end is round, large and quadrilateral. So if you see here, the lateral end is flat, right? And the medial end is going to be round, large and quadrilateral. You see here, it's quadrilateral, that is, it is four-sided. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the two things that you first will see is the ends. Okay, how will you find which is the medial or which is the lateral is? The medial one will be round and large and quadrilateral, and the lateral end will be, your lateral end is going to be flat. And then the thing that you will see is your shaft. Your shaft will be concavo-convex. From lateral to medial, it is going to be concavo-convex. Okay, so first it's going to be concave. See here, concave and then convex. Okay, if you see it this way, from medial to lateral, what you will have is, see, sad face and happy face. Or from lateral to medial, if you see, concavo-convex. Okay, That is the two things that you have seen. Now you have found out that okay, this is the medial side and okay, this is the lateral side. Now how will you find out which is the superior surface and which is the inferior surface? For that, what will you do? You will just twist and turn the bone and then you will find out a groove. Okay, there'll be a groove. See, now I have found out the groove. This groove, let's go closer and you can see this. Can you see this? This groove is your longitudinal subclavian groove. Wherever this groove is present in your clavicle, that is your inferior surface. That's it. We have found out the side determination. So this is the medial end, that is going to be round. Lateral end is going to be flat, and when you turn it behind or inferiorly, there'll be a groove, that is subclavian groove. So this is going to be your inferior surface and this is going to be your superior surface. And you will have convex shaft. So this is gonna be my right side of the clavicle. This is how it is placed. Okay, and how will you catch it is this way. And one more thing, guys, you have to hold it in the hand which side it is. Okay, if it is the right side of the bone, you have to hold it in the right side. If it is going to be the left side, you have to hold it in the left side. Okay, hold it this way. This is the anatomical position of the clavicle and this is the right side of your clavicle. Now we will go through the features of the clavicle bone. First we will go through the features of your shaft. See, you see the notes also. Okay, see the notes and then see the bone. And the notes would be the soft copy of the notes would be available in the Insta page. So don't worry about the notes now. See, the shaft. Shaft is divided into lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. So shaft is divided into lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. Now we will talk about the lateral end of the shaft, lateral part of the shaft. Okay, lateral 1/3 of the shaft is flattened and has two borders and two surfaces. Okay, now I will show it in the diagram. See, it is flattened. It has two borders, anterior border that is convex, that is concave forwards, and posterior border that is convex backwards. Okay, then it has two surfaces, superior surface and inferior surface. Superior surface is cutaneous, subcutaneous, that is it can be felt through the skin, and inferiorly it has two features. Just tilt it around. Inferiorly it has one elevation. See this elevation, which is your conoid tubercle, and there'll be a ridge here. If you have a bone, you can feel it. There'll be a ridge here. See, a little bit of gap, ridge. That is your trapezoid ridge. Okay. Now we will go through the medial 2/3 of the shaft. Medial 2/3 of the shaft has four surfaces. The anterior surface, the posterior surface. See, anterior surface is gonna be convex forwards. See, you see, convex forwards. The posterior surface is very, very smooth. See how smooth. It looks smooth as well. If you have a bone, touch it and feel, it will be very smooth. And then you have superior surface that is rough at the medial end. And then you have inferior surface. Inferiorly, you will have two things here. The first thing is your, see, can you see some rough part here? This one. This part is known as impression for costoclavicular ligament. And then you have a ridge here. Can you see a ridge here? I have marked it with a marker. This ridge is present in the middle part of the clavicle at the inferior surface. This is known as the longitudinal groove of the subclavian. This is what I told you. Superiorly, it is rough in its medial part, and inferior surface has oval impression in the medial end and longitudinal subclavial groove in the lateral end. That is what I showed you, right? This is impression for costoclavicular ligament, oval impression, and then subclavian groove, right? Then we have to talk about the lateral end and the medial ends now. Lateral end is this one, that is also known as your acromial end. It is flattened and it bears a facet. See, this is flattened and it bears a facet. This is the facet. See, this part is your facet. What is happening here is this facet gets attached to the acromion process of the scapula and forms your acromioclavicular joint. Okay, that's all about your lateral end. So now we'll talk about the medial end. Medial end is also known as the sternal end. See, this is the sternal end or the medial end. It is quadrangular and round in shape, quadrangular shaped. It articulates with the clavicular notch of the manubrium to form sternoclavicular joint. So what happens is this part, this end, this medial end articulates with the clavicular notch of the manubrium sterni and forms your sternoclavicular joint. Okay, what also happens here is it also extends inferiorly. The articular surface also extends inferiorly and also articulates with the first costal cartilage. So lateral end is also known as acromial end. It is flattened, has a facet that articulates with the acromion and forms the acromioclavicular ligament. Then the medial end, it is round and quadrangular. It articulates with the clavicular notch of the manubrium sterni, forms the sternoclavicular joint, also extends inferiorly and articulates with the first costal cartilage. So guys, this is all about the features and the site determination of the clavicle bone. I hope it was easy to understand. If any doubts, comment down in the comment section below. And the next part of this video will be containing the muscle attachments and the clinical anatomy. Please do like, share and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.